जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपीशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। पादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामी नाम पादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष निवादि पाश्चात्य वाचालम गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्येश्वरम। हरे कृष्ण. So we are continuing our discussion on the 22nd chapter where Sanatana Goswami in the Madhya Lila is being instructed by Lord Chaitanya in the matter of service. Lord Chaitanya is educating Sanatana Goswami in the matter of bhakti in a very, very scientific way, in a way that even though it is based on scripture, it has never been presented in such an organized way in terms of the position of bhakti, the process of bhakti, the levels of devotees. So many deep, profound truths about the science of devotional service are covered by Lord Chaitanya. In fact, these teachings are so foundational to our entire Krishna conscious philosophy. So, up until now, Lord Chaitanya has told many things, but one of the last discussions that we spoke about was Lord Chaitanya's emphasis about bhakti being a process which is independent of any other process, which shines on its own, illuminates and energizes other processes like karma, jnana, and yoga, but stands by itself fully capable of delivering complete spiritual realization without having to take shelter of any other process. And also being independent of any material qualification. And that is why bhakti is a spiritual process. Because it is the very nature of the soul to love the Lord and serve the Lord, being a part and parcel. So that's one very important siddhanta which Lord Chaitanya emphasizes. And then he also says that what is it that when we talk about faith in bhakti, faith in bhakti being means having very strong conviction. श्रद्धा शब्दे विश्वास को है सुदृढ़ निश्चय कृष्ण भक्ति कैले सर्व कर्म कृत है. Is not about thinking bhakti as, oh, I'm doing so many things, I must also do some devotion to God, and then everything, other things that I'm doing will become fine because, I will also get some blessings from God. But rather the understanding that simply if I worship Krishna, And we are talking about Krishna because Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply by worshipping Krishna exclusively, even if I don't do any other or practice any other aspect of religion, if I simply exclusively perform devotional service to the Lord, all other things are taken care of. I do not need to separately do anything else. This is strong faith in bhakti. Shraddha shabde vishwasa kohe sudruda nischay. Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma krita hai. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita also Lord Chaitanya says that the Lord gives his instructions. Sarva dharman parityajamam ekam sharanam vrajaham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshyami ma shuchha. This says just all you have to do is manmana bhavat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyashim. I'm telling you the secret, Arjun. Because you're qualified, nobody else may understand this. It may seem very sentimental, but this is the truth. I have explained so many things in so many chapters, but this is the crux. I'm telling you the supreme secret. Listen to it carefully. This is all you need. Become my devotee. Manmana bhavat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishyati. You will attend me without fail if you follow these four principles. So if a devotee has faith in this instruction of Krishna and he worships accordingly, then he is said to have strong faith. And this kind of strong faith doesn't come, Lord Chaitanya says, unless one is exhausted of material activity, satiated by fruitive activity. तावत कर्माणि कुर्वीत न निर्विद्येत यावता मत कथा श्रवणादौ वा श्रद्धा यावान न जायते. Unless one has come to the point of being faithful to me in terms of this instruction, in terms of the adequacy of taking shelter of the Lord and doing devotional service to the Lord, the adequacy of it, unless one develops faith in that by regularly hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord in the association of devotees, and one is not sufficiently developed uh, distaste for fruitive activity. The word here is uses satiated. Satiated means enough. I no longer want to pursue this path of trying to be happy by the typical formula followed by the world of enjoying, acquiring, becoming important. All these kind of fruitive desires, this path I do not want to pursue. Developing that detachment and developing attachment to hearing Krishna Katha, one develops that strong faith. And this is where Lord Chaitanya quotes Shraddha Shabde Vishwasha Kohe Sudruda Nischay Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita hai. Krishna Bhakti Kaile, if you do bhakti to Krishna, pure bhakti, Sarva Karma Krita hai. All other activities are automatically considered done, even though one may not have to separately do it. And Lord Chaitanya quotes a very, very important verse from the Bhagavatam. This is from the fourth chapter, fourth canto, 31st chapter, verse number 14. Yatha taror mool nishechanena trapyanti tatskanda bhujopashakaha pranopahara chayatendriyanam tathaiva sarva arhanam achyuta ijja. By pouring water on the root of the tree, one automatically satisfies all the trunk, branches, twigs. Similarly, by supplying food to the stomach, one automatically nourishes one's life air and all the senses. Similarly, simply by worshipping Krishna and rendering service to him, one automatically satisfies the demigods who take care of the entire universe. The whole universe, everyone is worshipped. Sarva Arhanam, everyone is worshipped. How? Achyuta Ijja, when one worships Achyuta. One must be faithful to this understanding. So Lord Chaitanya at this point defines faith in this way. Sometimes we think faith means, oh, I believe in Krishna, that is faith. From a very laukik, ordinary perspective, we may call that as, oh, I believe in Krishna, I also believe in Krishna. But what is this belief? Belief means what? Believe what about Krishna? Even demons believed in Krishna, but what do they believe in? This understanding. Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma krita hai. Do you have that firm conviction? And that is why when we say that the process of bhakti begins with Adav Shraddha. Adav Shraddha means initial faith. What is that initial faith that we are talking about? This is the Shraddha that we are talking about. Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma krita hai. And that is why Lord Chaitanya now starts describing levels of faith, or rather, categorization of advancement of devotees in terms of development of faith. Shraddhavana jana haya bhakti adhikari. If you want bhakti, you must be Shraddhavan. You must have this faith. And based on your level of faith, Shraddha Anusari. What are the three levels of Bhakta? Uttama, Madhyama, Kanishta, Shraddha Anusari. Based on the level of faith, one is considered first class, second class, and third class. Sometimes the word third class sounds very derogatory, but it is not derogatory. Actually, the word uses Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. Kanishta means actually comes from the two words Ka Nishtha. Nishtha means strong faith, and Ka Nishtha means Ka means where. Where is there strong faith? Which means there is no strong faith. Ka Nishtha, where is your Nishtha? So somebody says, I am devotee. Ka Nishtha, what is your Nishtha? No, I need to do this also, I need to do this also. How can I fully, take shelter of Krishna? Who knows, how will take care of me? Who will do this? Ka Nishtha, that means you are Kanishta. Not very strong faith. Madhyama, middle level. Uttama, top class. Then Lord Chaitanya quotes, he composes verses in Bengali describing the definition of Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama, and he also quotes from the Bhagavatam. This topic is also dealt with in the Bhagavatam, where Lord Krishna is explaining to Uddhava devotees based on their faith. Now, this classification is based on faith. Devotees may be classified in various ways. There are various ways to classify devotees, right? Not initiated, first initiated, second initiated. This is one classification. Uneducated, educated, PhD educated, another way to. So you can have so many demographic aspects of devotee classification, but this specific classification is based on the ladder of faith. So in this section that we are going to discuss today, there are two categorization models for devotees. Initially, Lord Chaitanya explains to Sanatana Goswami categorization based on levels of faith. And second, later, we'll also come to that a little later, he explains classification based on attachment to Krishna. Attachment to Krishna. Because that is what ultimately bhakti is about. Shraddha is the entry point. Shraddha is not the end point, but even at the entry point, there are three levels. So the Uttama Shraddha, many devotees explain that Uttama on the basis of Shraddha doesn't mean Prema Bhakta. No, that is not what it is. It is talking about the level of Bhakti, level of Shraddha, level of strong faith. So just because one has Uttama Shraddha, which means very firm, developed faith, doesn't mean he has reached Prem, but he is firmly fixed on the path. He is now firmly qualified to practice Shuddha Bhakti. So Shraddha here, in terms of Uttama Shraddha, is that Shraddha which has full exclusive faith in the process of pure devotional service. So let us see how this classification is given. शास्त्र युक्ते सुनिपुण दृढ़ श्रद्धा यांद्र उत्तम अधिकारी सई ताराये samsara. So who's an uttam adhikari? He who is expert in logic. He understands Shastra. He can argue based on Shastra, present conclusions based on Shastra, and who has firm faith in Krishna is classified as a topmost devotee. Such a person, Taraye Samsara, he can instruct the whole world in the subject of Krishna consciousness because he understands scripture and the conclusions of bhakti and he is able to present them in an analytical, logical, philosophical manner to establish the tattva of bhakti in front of an audience. Such a person can instruct everyone in the matter of devotional service. Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu gives an equivalent verse in Sanskrit. He says, Shastre yuktau cha nipunau. Very expert in Shastric study. Sarvartha dhrida nishchayaha. He is firmly convinced about all aspects of bhakti. Prauda Shraddha, deep faith. Adhikari, who has such a deep faith. Yaha sabhaktau uttama mata. This kind of a devotee is known as uttama. So, he has strong faith and he is able to convey that strong faith in terms of strong scriptural arguments. Such a person is known as a person who is uttama, first class in terms of his faith. But there may be some people who have that strong faith but are not able to convince others of the same faith in terms of scriptural arguments. One level lower. They have strong faith in a similar way, but they may not be able to convince others because they are not so expert in Shastra. But at a personal level, they have strong faith in pure devotional service. Such a person is considered a second class or Madhyama Adhikari. Such a person also, Lord Chaitanya says, must be considered very, very fortunate. Why such a person is most fortunate? Because just the fact that even for himself he is fully convinced Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Karta is a very big Mahabhagyavan. The word uses Mahabhagyavan, not just Bhagyavan. Shastra Yukti Nahi Jane Dhrida Shraddhavan Madhyam Adhikari Sei Mahabhagyavan. So that's the classification of a medium or intermediate devotee. And who's a Kanishtha, Kanishtha? Yahara Kumala Shraddha se Kanishta Jana Krame Krame Tenho Bhakta Haive Uttama. But those whose faith is soft, pliable. What does soft and pliable mean? Sometimes they are very convinced, sometimes they are doubting. Really, yeah. When they are in the class, they are very convinced, and somebody says something else. Really, yeah, is Krishna consciousness really? Oh, really? Is Shiva God or is Krishna God or is Bhakti or maybe I should do Ashtanga Yoga or oh, is holy name really? Sometimes they're excited, sometimes they're, because their faith is flickering, it's not steady, it's not rooted in scriptures, they're not strongly convinced themselves also and not even about fully well versed in scriptures. So the faith of one who is not, whose faith is not yet strong, who is just beginning should be considered a neophyte devotee. Okay, so these are three levels of classification based on faith. Again, huh? One whose faith is soft, not convinced, also not very well versed in scripture, is Kanishta. Ka Nishta, not fixed. One whose faith is fixed strongly for himself, but is not well versed enough in scripture to be able to convince others, is Madhyama. Uttam is not only deeply grounded in faith, practically irrevocable faith, but also sufficiently expert in scripture and logic and able to present this subject matter to others to convince others in the matter of taking up to the process of Shuddha Bhakti. So, by this definition, Bhanu Maharaj explained it like this. By this definition, anyone who is convinced about bhakti by himself and is able to teach based on scripture the process of bhakti, they can generally be considered as Uttama Adhikaris based on this faith classification. It doesn't mean they are on the level of Prema. It means they qualify from a barometer of faith. Now Lord Chaitanya goes into classification of devotees, not just based on faith, but based on their attachment and love for the Lord. रति प्रेम तारतम्ये भक्त तारतम एकादश स्कंदे तार करियाचे लक्षण. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya says the following symptoms have been ascertained to establish which devotee is superlative and superior, the levels of the devotees based on their attachment and love for Krishna. Ultimately, it's about love, right? This faith is entry point. Of course, faith eventually matures into love. Adav Shraddha, correct? It begins with Adav Shraddha. Then Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. That's the journey. But Shraddha itself is divided into Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. Because unless one reaches Madhyama or ideally Uttama Shraddha, one cannot really take shelter of Sadhu Sangha and Bhajan Kriya. So to have effective Anartha Nivritti without coming to the platform of Uttama Shraddha is very difficult. But now we are talking about love, which means we are talking about higher stages. So, basis the Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya explains who is actually, what is the symptom of actually one is advanced in his attachment for Krishna, in his realization of Krishna. And that is not just a matter of convincing others, that is not just a matter of scriptural study, that is not just a matter of being convinced, it's a matter of love. So, what does Bhagavatam explain? In the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 45, Lord Krishna explains this to Uddhava. Sarva bhuteshu yah pashyed bhagavat bhavamatmanah bhutani bhagavati atmani esha bhagavatto bhagavat uttamaha. Bhagavata uttama, sorry. Who is a Bhagavat uttama? Who is a topmost devotee? A person is a topmost devotee whose vision is such. Sarva bhuteshu ya pashyed bhagavat bhavam atmanah. When he sees everything, when he sees at the world, he sees the Lord's presence everywhere. He sees the soul of souls present within every living entity. That's the vision of an advanced. Everywhere he sees the presence of the Lord. He doesn't see anything disconnected from the Lord. He sees Krishna everywhere. sees Krishna as the soul of all souls. Krishna has given a similar explanation in the Bhagavad Gita also, which I have quoted so many times. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati. He who sees me in everything and everything in me, to him I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. That's the Uttama. He is fully Krishna conscious. That's why he sees nothing but Krishna. That's why he's always in love with Krishna. Then Krishna goes into the intermediate. Who's an intermediate devotee? Ishware tad adineshu balisheshu dushatsu cha prema maitri kripapo kripapeksha yah karoti samadhyamaha. Who is a madhyama? Verse 46 of the second chapter of the 11th canto. Krishna is explaining. An intermediate or a second class devotee in terms of his love, in terms of his advancement, is a person who shows love for the Lord, his love for the Lord, is friendly to all devotees and is very merciful to the neophytes, innocent people, and the ignorant people. But he keeps away, not out of hatred, but he is indifferent or he neglects, not hates or envies. He keeps away from those who are envious of devotional service. This particular statement was actually made by Narada Muni when he spoke about devotional service to Vasudev, Krishna's father. And this subject was originally discussed between King Nimi and the 9 Yogendras in terms of the levels of devotional service. So a vision of a Madhyama devotee is not that he sees Krishna everywhere, but he's very Krishna conscious in terms of not just loving the Lord, but relating with people of this world based on their advancement in Krishna consciousness. So he discriminates, unlike the Uttama, who sees everything as an Uttama Adhikari in terms of one who has developed pure love for the Lord. He just sees everything as Krishnamay Jagat. He doesn't even see the need to preach because he sees Krishna in everyone. He sees everybody as Krishna conscious because he sees nothing but Krishna. He's gone beyond the point of distinguishing and discriminating. That's why such a person at that high level is not even able to preach because he doesn't even see the need to preach. But at the Madhyama level, one preaches and he understands, oh, this is a devotee, this is a non-devotee, this is an envious person, I have to stay away. These are devotees, I have to make friends with them, associate with them. Those who are senior advanced devotees, I have to serve them. That sense of discrimination not in a negative sense, but viveka in terms of what to do and what not to do is very clearly there in the Madhyama. So this Madhyama standard is something that we should all aspire for because Uttam is not something which we can practice. Uttam is a vision which is developed with purity and with realization. But Uttama is the Madhyama is the platform that we must actually actively cultivate, which means friendship with devotees, mercy towards the innocent, and avoid the envious. And simultaneously offer one's love to the Supreme Personality of God. That's why preachers have to be at least at the Madhyama level. And who's a materialistic devotee? Prakrita Bhakta. Verse 47 of the second chapter of the 11th canto. A neophyte or a prakrit or a materialistic devotee is one acharyam eva haraye jam yah shraddhaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smrta. The very simple way to understand who's a materialistic devotee is he worships the Lord, but he's unable to relate with devotees and others and see them in connection with the Lord. He has faith in the Lord and worship of the Lord, but he cannot appreciate devotees. He doesn't scrutinizingly study scripture to understand and have a deeper understanding and appreciation of Krishna consciousness and the character of devotees. Because he doesn't understand this tattva of bhakti and the value of a bhakta properly based on scripture, even though he has respect for Bhagwan and appreciation of Bhagwan to some extent, because of his lack of understanding of the value of devotees, he doesn't show proper respect to devotees. He may, based on instructions of his guru, do worship of the deities, worship the Lord, offer Naivedya, do all those things. But he doesn't know how to deal with different levels of people. Such a person, even though he has some faith, is considered a materialistic devotee. Even though externally he is practicing the limbs of devotional service. Bhakta Praya. Bhakta Praya means almost a devotee, or sometimes known as a neophyte devotee, or a Bhakta Abhas, because he has very little realization of Krishna conscious philosophy. So one should not be at that platform. One should quickly come to the intermediate platform, because intermediate platform is the platform where one can make tangible progress. Okay, so this is the three classifications from an advancement perspective. Materialistic devotee, who accepts and worships the Lord but cannot relate or see other things in connection with Krishna, and that is why it doesn't properly associate with devotees or doesn't respect them properly. Then the intermediate, who's very attached to the Lord and worships the Lord very nicely, but simultaneously takes association of devotees, is very careful to see devotees and identify them and serve them and associate with them nicely. Those who are innocent, he is willing to share his Krishna consciousness with them. And those who are envious and blasphemous, just keeps his distance. From a distance, he'll say Hare Krishna and doesn't want to bother them. He doesn't want to waste his time in associating with them, or he doesn't want to get infected by their envious mentality. So he keeps distance. And gradually a person elevates from Kanishtha, Madhyama, and Madhyama ultimately the vision of a. At the topmost level, a Vaishnava displays all transcendental qualities. In fact, a Vaishnava is one who displays all spiritual qualities. Or rather, Lord Chaitanya explains, as a person progresses in the path of bhakti, all the qualities of a devotee or of the devatas automatically start manifesting in him stage by stage, in greater and greater degree. यस्यास्ति भक्तिर भगवती अकिंचन सर्वैर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुराः हराव भक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणः मनोरथेनासति धावतो वहि. That one who has devotional service to the Lord or renders devotional service to the Lord, slowly all the divine transcendental qualities of the devatas automatically manifest in him. However, if a person doesn't have devotion or bhakti towards the Lord, then he actually cannot develop truly spiritual qualities. Even though externally sometimes you may display some qualities, those qualities are at a material level. They are a facade. They are not substantial in terms of their spiritual substratum. Manorathena asati dhavato. Such people are running at a mental platform, at a platform of concoction. That's why they do not have truly spiritual qualities. Then Lord Chaitanya goes on to explain what are these spiritual qualities that a pure devotee displays. What are those Vaishnava Lakshana? Sai Saba Guna Haya Vaishnava Lakshana. Saba Kaha Kaha Na Yaya Kari Digdarshan. Lord Chaitanya says, I cannot describe all those qualities, but I'll give you some sample, some idea, and I shall try to point to you what are the important qualities. Kripalu Akrita Droha Satya Sarasama Nidosha Vadanya Mridu Shuchi Akinchana Sarvopakaraka Shanta Krishna Ekasharana Akama Aniha Sthira Vijita Sadguna Nita Bhuk Apramatta Manada Amani Gambhira Karuna Maitra Kavidaksha Mauni. Lord Chaitanya summarizes the qualities. What are those qualities? Devotees are always merciful, humble, truthful, equal to all, faultless, magnanimous, mild, and clean. They are without material possessions, meaning they are not attached to any material things. And they perform welfare for everyone. They are welfare, they want good for everyone. Peaceful, surrendered to Krishna and desireless, which means they are not wanting anything for themselves. They are free from materialistic desires. Indifferent to material acquisitions and always fixed in devotional service. Actually, being fixed in devotional service and being free from material desire actually goes together because one cannot exist without the other. Such devotees are completely in control of the six bad qualities kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara. They are mita bhuk. Mita bhuk means they eat a little bit. They don't overeat. They are not inebriated. They are not intoxicated by pride. They are very respectful to others. They are grave, silent, compassionate, karuna, amanina. They are prideless. They don't have false prestige. They are very friendly to everyone. They are poetic. They are expert. They are silent. Silent means they don't simply talk unnecessary subjects. And then Lord Chaitanya quotes another verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam to substantiate this. Third canto, 25th chapter, verse 21. Titikshavaha karunikaha surudas sarvadehinam ajata shatravah shantaha sadhavah sadhu bhushanaha. So Suta Goswami actually explains this verse when all the sages headed by Saunaka inquired about Lord Kapila, who is the Lord who comes in the form of a devotee and preaches the Sankhya philosophy. When they ask about him, then this discussion comes up, and Kapila Dev actually, in his conversation with his mother, he explains this particular topic. And then Lord Chaitanya reveals the secret. If you really want to become a devotee, if you really want to become a substantial devotee, not just a neophyte, there may be so many prakrita bhaktas, either materialistic devotees or devotees with little faith. But if you want to be a substantial devotee who is truly progressive on the path of devotion, then what is the secret? Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte he tamodwaram yoshita sangi sangam mahantaste samachitta prashanta vimanyavaha sruda sadavoye. Very, very important verse from the Bhagavad. What does this verse say? This is 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 2. It is the verdict of all scriptures and the opinion of all great personalities that if one wants to advance on this path, one must attain the favor of pure devotees by rendering service to them. Mahat Sevam, by serving the pure devotees. Dwaram Ahu Vimuktehe, the door of liberation becomes open. But on the other side, if one simply associates with Yoshita Sangi Sangam, associates with materialistic people, especially people who are attached to enjoy the association of women or those who are attached to women. Those kind of people just go downwards, go towards darkness. Tamodwaram, Yoshita Sangi Sangam. But those who are the great devotees, the Mahantaha, who are very peaceful, Samachitta Prashanta, Vimanyavaha, without anger and well-wishers of everyone. They are the ones who take the association of great saintly people and receive their favor by serving them very nicely. Why? Because Sanatan, please understand the root of bhakti. Bhakti is not something that you can get simply by studying books. The root of the tree of bhakti is association of devotees. Krishna bhakti janma moola. Krishna bhakti janma means birth. Moola, the root. Haya sadhu sangha. It's the association of devotees. Bhakti is born in our heart in the association of devotees. That inclination to perform bhakti doesn't come through karma, doesn't come through jnana, doesn't come through yoga, it comes through sadhu sangha. Krishna prema janme te ho puna mukhya anga. To develop faith in bhakti and desire for bhakti comes through sadhu sangha. And to then develop that seed of bhakti and take it to the level of prema also needs sadhu sangha. That is why sadhu sangha is the main limb of bhakti. The root cause of devotional service to Krishna is association of devotees, and even when one's love for Krishna awakens, association of devotees still remains most essential. All the way into the spiritual world. Even in the spiritual world, one is always associating with devotees. One is not always with Krishna. Who is always with Krishna? Nobody is always with Krishna. When in the spiritual world, one is surrounded always by devotees and one is nourished through the association of devotees. And then Lord Chaitanya quotes 10th canto 51st chapter 53rd verse, where Bhavapavarga Ramoto Yada Bhavech Janmasya Tarhi Achyuta Sat Samagamaha Satsangamo Yarhi Tadaiva Sadgatau Paravareshu Tvai Jayate Rati. That, oh Lord, a living entity may be wandering throughout the material existence. But when such a soul who's traversing birth, old age, disease, death again and again and again becomes eligible for liberation, he gets an opportunity to associate with your devotees. Because the meeting of a pure devotee is the beginning of the end of material existence. Because in that association, his faith towards you and devotional service for you will become awakened, and that faith is the beginning of the end of material existence. It will take him and propel him towards the real goal of life. And that is why even a little association of great devotees in this material world is extremely valuable, Lord Chaitanya says. Then Lord Chaitanya quotes another verse, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ratkarana rasayana katha tad joshanadhi ashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anutramashati. In the association of devotees, when that faith develops and one associates with devotees, one's bhakti is nourished and one gets great pleasure. What kind of pleasure? Satam prasangam mama virya samvido. When my devotees associating with each other discuss my glorious pastimes. Avanti ritakarana rasayana kata. Aha. The ears become pleased, the heart become pleased. It is like tasty nectar. And in the continuous regular drinking of the tasty nectar of my katha in the association of devotees, what happens? Simply by hearing my katha in the association of devotees, slowly one becomes more and more advanced. Initially, one develops strong faith, from little faith to strong faith. from strong faith to strong attachment to me. And finally, pure love for me. Shraddha, strong faith. Rati, intense attachment. And bhakti, prema. Anukramishati. Simply by continuing to hear my glories in the association of devotees, one will progress like this. That is why it is so important. Association of devotees, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koe. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi. Even little association of devotees can give one the greatest benefit. Simultaneously, it is very important to note, to Sanatan Goswami, Lord Chaitanya is saying, असत्संग त्याग ए वैष्णव आचार स्त्री संगी एक sadhu Krishna bhakta are. While a devotee, a practicing devotee must be very careful to associate with devotees, he must be equally careful to not associate with those who are very materialistic, because that will spoil his bhakti. A Vaishnava should be especially careful to not spoil his bhakti by associating with ordinary materialistic people, and especially with materialistic people who are attached to women, because that will spoil his bhakti. Because what happens when one associates with those who have a strong enjoying mentality, and that enjoying mentality is most manifest when one is attached to women, wanting to enjoy women at a bodily platform. That kind of association robs one of bhakti, because bhakti is about dedication and enjoying with women is about exploitation. It's exactly opposite. It just counteracts that whole development of consciousness of love. Love and lust are opposite. If you progress in lust, you go low in love, and the other way around. So one must be very, very careful. Because if one associates with worldly people, gradually all good qualities will disappear. And one will eventually become a plaything in the hand of women. This attachment to women and enjoyment with women is such an illusion. Lord Chaitanya is quoting the Bhagavatam, where Kapila Dev is explaining this to Mother Devahuti. Such an illusion. There is no illusion, no power of Maya as strong as that kind of an illusion which comes with the as a result of the intense attachment between a man and a woman. So one must be especially careful to not spoil one's evolution in bhakti by avoiding that kind of association. Lord Chaitanya wants to emphasize this point so much. He says, Sanatan, it is better to be caged in behind bars with burning fire in all directions. That is also okay. Than to associate with materialistic people who have this kind of attachment. That kind of association of materialistic people is a great hardship. Lord Chaitanya is so strong on this point. So strong on this point. And this is a very important lesson for us. If you want to make serious progress, you have to be very scrutinizing in terms of with whom we share our heart. Traveling in the train with somebody who's standing next to us is not called association. Here we are talking about association in terms of sharing the heart, where there is intimate transactions. Priti Lakshanam. Correct? Dadati pratigranati guhyam akhyati prachati bhumte bhojayate saiva shadvi priti lakshanam. If there are symptoms of love, eating together, sharing one's heart with each other, giving each other gifts, then there is a development of priti. That kind of association with materialistic people is damaging to the spirit of development of love. And a devotee must be careful not just about not associating with materialistic people, but also be careful about not associating with those who are simply religious and not dedicated to developing love for the God. Some people are simply attached to pious activity, karma kanda. They are also not, their association is also not being helpful, because their attachment to religious principles is again for sense enjoyment only. So how will their association benefit? even though they may be dharmic, they may not be sinful. That association is also not going to be conducive to bhakti. Because ultimately, the main consideration for a sadhaka who wants to be a pure devotee is to associate with those who are conducive to the development of his own devotion. So I'm going to stop here. We have few minutes remaining. I'll just take maybe one or two verses before I conclude. So Lord Chaitanya concludes this park by saying that is why one should exclusively take shelter of Krishna. Have full confidence. I don't need to do anything else. Don't bother what will happen if I associate with only this. Don't associate with this. So many people become very worried. When people become too worried about material considerations, that also shows a lack of faith that Krishna will take care of what I need. Giving up bad association and not bothering too much about materially motivated duties, which means one should give up material attachment, be fixed in the practice of devotion. So, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. That is the Mula Mantra of pure devotion. Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami Machucha. If there is any shortcoming because of not performance of any other duties, then Krishna will compensate for it and take care of it and not allow you to incur sin because you are properly surrendered to him. Of course, one must be careful not to renounce one's duty also and not even do Krishna's bhakti properly. One falls into that trap by thinking I am a devotee, I don't need to do this, but not even doing bhakti properly, then one will incur sin. So these things have to be taken very seriously. You cannot just simply give up. If you give up a lower duty, you must do properly a higher duty. Then you will not be punished. If you give up lower duty saying, no, I want to do higher duty and you are not even properly doing your higher duty, then you get sin of both. Na ghar ka, na ghat ka. Neither you did materially properly, neither did you do spiritually properly. So one has to be serious. So don't worry, Krishna will protect you. That faith you must have. If you don't have that faith, then you are not fit to tread this path. That means you are still Kanishtha. You are a Prakrita Bhakta. And it's okay. If we are still at that platform, it's okay. Let's accept that we are at that level, but we have to work forward. And how do we work forward? The formula is already given. Associate with those who are faithful. Hear Harikatha in the association of those who are faithful. If our faith in Krishna, if your faith in Krishna you are experiencing has been increasing over time, that means you are hearing Harikatha in the association of faithful devotees. Because that is the result. So I'm going to stop here. So we completed up to verse 94. So next time we'll cover from verse 95 onwards. I didn't want to go fast because these are very, very key understanding of Krishna consciousness, which if we don't discuss here, we will never get an opportunity to discuss. Thank you very much. Any questions, any comments? Hari Bo. Jai Ho. Thank you so much. श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्री पंचतत्व की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद. So I will see you on Saturday. Yes, this coming Saturday should be possible. Yes. Okay. So actually Saturday we'll continue our session on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.